Hey everyone, really excited for this chat today. The digital world is changing fast and age verification is becoming a major focus for platforms and parents and brands, regulators. And we have a true expert to talk about this issue and topic from TELUS Digital. Labisha, how are you?
Hi, Evan. I'm very good. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for joining. Of course, many of us know as TELUS, a global communications giant, but TELUS Digital, how do you describe the team and the role, what you guys are up to these days at TELUS Digital?
Thanks for having me. TELUS Digital, we are the customer experience transformation partner primarily for our clients. Our aim is to help our clients win their customers' trust in the moments that matter. Our solutions include, like I mentioned, customer experience management is a big part of our business, but then we also, the part of the business that I lead, trust and safety, is also a significant pillar. We also have AI transformation business and digital solutions as well. But yeah, as I mentioned, I look after our trust and safety work, which includes content moderation, which includes fraud prevention, includes account security. Depending on the type of client we work with, those solutions, they all may apply or parts of those. But yeah, ultimately helping keep our clients' platforms safe, helping keep their users and communities safe, and we're really proud to work in this field.
Yeah, brilliant mission. One thing that's top of the news every day, it seems, is age verification in one way or another, and beyond the obvious, issue of screen time and reducing that. What is changing online these days that's making age verification so critical around the world?
I think really is there's a few factors there, right? You mentioned yourself there, kids are spending a lot more time in front of screens. The thing that's really the most significant change is really the risk profile of the internet has changed. So it's not just the number of hours, right? It's kids are not just consuming content; they are participating in these sort of highly active interactive systems that respond to them in real time, right? So it's social feeds, live streaming, chats, social gaming, and then more recently, obviously, it's AI companions as well. So these systems are optimized for engagement, for personalization, and so they can shape what a young person sees, right? And they are really encouraging you to do something next, right? So that's one main shift that I see. A second one is really blending of sort of content, commerce, community. You might be watching a clip, but then you get nudged to join a server, right? So you end up in sort of paid creator economy type environment. So yeah, age is not just a demographic detail in this situation. It affects what protections are appropriate and what kind of interactions should be permitted. So yeah, the data becomes a really significant issue in this space. And then the third is really, what we are seeing a lot more right now is regulatory expectations, right? So we're seeing this clear move towards duty of care thinking, safety by design. We are expecting platforms to anticipate risk and to build into their products. We are seeing laws coming up in many countries. The EU Digital Services Act was one of those large examples, but then we're seeing this coming up in other countries as well. And yeah, like to put it simply, if a platform cannot reasonably determine whether a user is a child or a teen or an adult, it's very hard to apply the right safety controls and protections.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. So when it comes to, protecting kids, I mean, what's the way to approach age verification? How does the technology work in practice?
Yeah, so it's become a hot topic, right? It's how much of this is technology driven solution, how much is society driven solution. I try to think, and I think probably the best way to think about this issue is to think about it as a trust and safety or online safety design decision rather than just a compliance hurdle, right? So, and then you can think about it from like a proportionality principle. So there's different risks at different levels, which require different levels of assurance, right? So if you are in high risk context like adult content or dating or gambling, etc., then in my mind, those really justify very strong verification processes. If you are in lower risk, let's say some sort of educational service, right? You want to you can avoid collecting overly sensitive data. So in practice, what this means for most platforms is a layered approach, right? So you're using low friction models like self-declaration, account behavior patterns, etc., for those low risk situations. Then you escalate when the risk is crossing certain thresholds, and then you provide a fallback. So I think transparency is a big thing here. You want to provide people ways to appeal because age systems, especially age estimation systems, are not always gonna get things right. And I mentioned transparency in my mind is the one thing that really makes or breaks trust in this space. People need to understand what's being asked of them, what happens with their data, and then the recourse, like I mentioned. So appeals, if you are wrongly blocked, in a way, it can be as harmful for some people to be prevented from communicating with someone online because they're wrongly blocked, as it is to actually not have access to the service in the first place. The one thing that we are seeing through many of our clients is that human escalation part is very much necessary where there are mistakes that happen through systems that humans can actually step in and verify. Humans help build these models that actually work at scale for age estimation and verification, but then ultimately, I think for situations which require human review, you need that expertise.
Interesting. And tell us about the move that Australia made to ban 16 and unders for social media. That's kind of a blockbuster example. Many countries are looking at that. Can you tell us how that works, and maybe it tells us about where things are headed?
And there was another example just a couple of days ago. Spain has moved to do very similar. Spain's actually introducing sort of personal responsibility for folks who run platforms as well. And then Ireland has had some discussions recently around this as well. Generally, actually, many countries in the EU we're discussing whether this needs to be some sort of decision at the EU level rather than specific countries, but it looks like some countries don't want to wait for that. So I think it's moves like Australia's is really showing us how serious governments are actually thinking about child safety online at this point, right? It reflects a global trend. I think these measures also highlight trade-offs, right? So enforcement at scale really requires robust age assurance, but then you are, like I mentioned earlier, it's that proportionality that then starts bringing questions around accuracy, privacy, inclusion. What does it mean for user experience? And then you before you even start thinking about the social questions, right? So what does platforms, whichever, right, online communication platform, which many teens use, they become a major part of our lives, how people communicate, how they learn. And I think any hard cutoffs are sometimes ending up with unintended consequences. And we've seen some of those stories in Australia. So from my perspective, the direction of travel is we are moving towards a blended model in a way. So there's no single silver bullet on this. Combination of age assurance where needed, sort of safer defaults, product design solutions in certain situations. Stronger parental tooling, so parental controls, in my mind, will become a lot more prominent in many ways. And then what is probably lagging at this point is just more digital literacy and education, and this will be a big part of it. So the responsibility is sort of really shared across, and I think regulators are increasingly expecting platforms to demonstrate that they've thought through foreseeable risks and implemented solutions in a proportionate way, but then consistent with their laws and some of the more prominent laws, like the Australian one you mentioned, and like the UK online safety approach.
Interesting. And for someone new to this space like myself, my children are adult age, so not something I've worried about, but what are some common misunderstandings or myths that you hear again and again about age verification, either in the industry or generally?
I think sometimes people think about it in sort of zero-sum way. So one of those is, for example, age verification is not ID verification. Doesn't necessarily need to mean that, right? I think age verification is not necessarily about who someone is about knowing how to protect them in a certain context, right? So for the most part, I believe platforms don't necessarily need to care who someone is, but they need to know approximately what age group they belong to, so that they know what types of protections they need to implement, right? And I think the goal here is not maximum certainty, but it's appropriate certainty for the risk involved in that situation. So I think it's some of those misconceptions really go through kind of, hey, how much transparency is involved here? Do I know? Does my parent know? What data is collected, etc. Like, I think if you think, for example, from a technical standpoint, right? Age estimation most often requires a selfie check, right? But those images are almost instantly deleted once that check is completed, right? So the way the technology works, it estimates based on certain features, and in those solutions, those are deleted, right? Only sort of, like I mentioned, those most complex ID verification solutions is where there is a more privacy concern. But again, I think sometimes the framing is it's either safety or privacy, and in my mind, it shouldn't be that way, and it's not that way. It's really, privacy and safety are not opposites, but at times we end up in those discussions because I think badly designed systems make them feel like they're opposites, and that's where I think people sometimes have misconceptions. But again, there is a shared duty of care, I think, across. In my mind, the honest answer would be no single group can own the entire problem, because no single group controls the entire system. So like I mentioned, there's a shared responsibility. We can talk a little bit more about that aspect if you'd like as well.
Yeah. So, obviously platforms, parents, governments all share responsibility to work together. What's the role of TELUS Digital in all of this? What do you do exactly with your clients and partners?
So our role in the, if we think about sort of social media or gaming ecosystem, is across user experience, if you will. We may moderate content that they are seeing or not seeing in many situations because they shouldn't be seeing it. We may look at investigating accounts that are either reported or flagged for certain types of behaviors or for misbehaviors, and then in age verification specifically, we may actually be that last step which needs a human intervention to ensure that somebody is of a certain age to access a platform. So it works across the ecosystem. We also, like I mentioned, we have data solutions are part of the business where we help our clients build models across many different industries, but specifically for safety, they could be detection models to prevent harmful behaviors, or they could be in the age verification space, in age estimation space, where we help build those models and fine tune them so that over time, obviously, the accuracy is higher. But like I said, and you will hear, leaders from major social media platforms, they will often say themselves, no systems are 100% accurate, and the scale at which they operate means that even the small sliver that is not accurate ends up potentially in front of some of our sort of community safety representatives who might be working for a particular client's platform, where they might review that piece of content or review that account, or in this situation, maybe help confirm age of a person.
Hi, founders. I'm Mike Lyon, founder and managing director at VistaPoint Advisors. I'm excited to announce a podcast series we've been working on called The Path to Exit. In this series, we'll address topics like when is the best time to sell your business or raise capital, how to conduct a competitive process that maximizes your leverage and options, what factors impact valuation and the probability of a closed transaction, and much, much more. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcast by searching for The Path to Exit. We hope this podcast is helpful to you on your path to exit.
Interesting. So AI, I guess, plays a double-edged sword in this area. You have AI bots and that are increasingly targeting children, and with sometimes quite distressing outcomes. On the other hand, behind the scenes, AI, I think, is an amazing tool to protect children. What is the cutting edge in terms of what we can do with AI, and where you see things going over the next year or two in protecting kids using all the latest models and advancements we see?
Right. I think there's a couple of ways to think about it. One is a lot of the technology that's used in this space specifically is not necessarily AI-based, but the behaviors that it's trying to protect children from may be AI-powered, right? A lot of the personalization, etc. So I think there is no one single age verification technology. It's an ecosystem, right, with a ton of different methods and different trade-offs. AI-powered models are one of those as well. So one category is, for example, behavioral and technical signals. Those are called gray data sometimes. So that can include patterns, right? How is somebody navigating a service, device and account signals, velocity of actions, etc. And that can help a platform decide whether somebody is potentially underage. So this is like a low friction, less invasive than submitting documents, etc. Then is age estimation is sort of the next layer, most commonly facial age estimation. The key distinction is that this is not, like I mentioned, who are you, but it's what age range do you appear to be. And this is briefly processed. In best practices, that's not stored, and the result is a confidence level, right? So it's not an identity. But this must be paired with bias testing, and I'll touch on that in a second because that's an important piece of where AI plays a role here. And then you have the higher assurance methods, right? So verified credentials or ID-based checks. And these are appropriate when accuracy is critical and the law requires it, right? So the privacy and security stakes are higher in this situation. Also, the best practice in the industry, actually across, so it's not just for social and gaming, but also in financial services, is to try and minimize retention and minimize reuse, because obviously people are concerned about the how their data is stored, who has access to it, etc. So increasingly there's interest in preserving privacy-preserving options. Like I'm not sure, maybe you've heard, but there is this phrase called zero knowledge proof, which really means there's no sharing of data further, and it's not preserved. But the reusable age credentials are also becoming one thing that is like sort of almost like a wallet of some sort, a digital wallet, which is transferable across platforms. And there was actually in the EU, there was a discussion of the EU digital wallet, which you can use across platforms, that is stored by a third party, not by a platform itself. And just to come back to the bias in the systems, this is where at times we help our clients, right? You need to try and make sure that this technology is fair and accurate across different users, right? It shouldn't be the case that a teen in France or in Germany should be a lot more easily, their age should be a lot more easily estimated than a teen in Bangladesh, for example, or somewhere in Africa, right? So we're talking about introducing high accuracy data sets that help with age estimation to remove these biases. And so, the way to address this is through really end-to-end governance, right? So you have representative training data, diverse ages, skin tones, geographies, all the relevant conditions that are applicable. Then you look at ongoing tests, and then you break down those error rates into really specific user groups so that you can then refine and make sure that the accuracy in those specific groups is rising, not just average accuracy, right? And then thresholding and confidence design. When confidence is low, you don't force a hard decision. You might be able to trigger a fallback, which is, for example, where we might come in with a check that is there is a process where a person might actually their case ends up in front of a representative who is making sure that they are who they are, or that they are the certain age, depending on the process. But this is where, like I mentioned, appeals are incredibly important. The human in the loop element is there. And this is where we have, over the past couple of decades, really built strong expertise to help our clients maintain that high level of accuracy where systems might not be at that point.
Brilliant. Wow. So much hard work behind the scenes to make this quote unquote easy and seamless. That's amazing. So I'm headed out to Mobile World Congress shortly, and this will be one of many hot topics. Where can people meet TELUS Digital, and what are you excited about over the next few weeks, months? There's a lot going on.
There is, yeah. You mentioned Mobile World Congress. We will have a strong representation there. We will have many folks. You can stop by our booth there. But also next month there is a Trust and Safety Summit in London on the 24th and 25th of March. We will be there. We'll be speaking also actually about AI safety and security, and about how we've built an automated red teaming solution for enterprises to ensure that the chatbots, AI-powered bots that they're putting in production are safe. You can come and say hi there, but also across a few different, we participate in many sort of gaming conferences in the US. We will be at the TrustCon in July as well in San Francisco. But also just you can find me on LinkedIn and reach out with any questions. I'm more than happy to talk through what solutions we have and how we might be able to help.
Brilliant. Well, you're an amazing spokesman for this important topic, and here's to success. I think we're all rooting for you.
Thank you. Thanks, Evan. And I really appreciate you having me here. It's an important topic. And I just want to, if I may just sort of close, like I'm really passionate about trust and safety space. I've worked in this space for more than 15 years on platforms and for TELUS Digital now, where we help large platforms. I think we're moving towards a world where age awareness is part of responsible digital design, just like security or accessibility. And I think the challenge now is doing it in a way that protects kids without normalizing bad practices. So the balance is where trust will be won or lost, and this is where we really work hard to help our clients build and maintain that trust with their online communities.
Brilliant. Well, they're lucky to have you. Very exciting work, meaningful work, and thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for listening, watching, sharing the episode. Also check out our TV show, techimpact.tv on Bloomberg and Fox Business. Thanks everyone. Take care.